Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Aaron Sorensen. I'm the CEO of Aromatic Plant Research Center. Over the past few years, revolutionary discoveries and strides in the research in the fields of aromatic plants have been made. As we've shared our research and the research of many others, we understand how much education is appreciated and desired in the community. We've always been focused on education and sharing the knowledge gained from the research being done in the fascinating world of aromatic plants. With that in mind, APRC is proud to announce a new educational initiative, Research Aromatica. Research Aromatica is a collaborative effort in providing education and new discoveries to the general public, along with the aromatic and medicinal industries on an international platform. The topics we will cover will encompass everything from the fieldwork being done around the world to breakthroughs in testing found in the lab. Join us as we host webinar events each month with some of the best researchers, scientists, and entrepreneurs in the aromatic plant world. Videos will be posted on the second and fourth Thursday of each month. The seminars will be presented by experts all around the world in different fields related to the aromatic and medicinal plant industry. From distillers to professors, environmental scientists to producers, each seminar will be a chance to share education about the various nuances within the industry. To kick off our seminar, Dr. Satyal will be presenting on essential oil adulteration, one of the core focuses at APRC. Dr. Satyal has studied the chemical composition of more than 10,000 essential oils from various plants around the world, has published more than 100 research articles in peer-reviewed journals, and is also an editorial member of several journals. Prabodh has a special interest in essential oil adulteration detection using marker-based analysis and has created the only known mass spectral library with a focus on synthetic markers. He has played a significant role in establishing several essential oil databases and has spoken at multiple reputable international conferences. In this presentation, he will discuss the current trends in essential oil market and as the common methods of adulteration and means to detect those adulterations. So without further ado, Dr. Satyal.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about challenges on essential oil authentication. So let's begin what is happening in essential oil market. I'm presenting some tentative information based upon informal conversation with several people. India produces 700 metric ton of pure peppermint essential oil, but exports more than 2,500 metric ton. And bergamot production is 85 metric ton and export is 1,000 metric ton. And you can see what is happening here. And you can also see in the market, rose oil is sold as $10 per bottle, which is kind of impossible, being the expensive product. Yield is very, very low in the rose essential oil. And there are so many, fake essential oil in market, like honeysuckle oil, vanilla oil, which is not commercially feasible to produce. And sometimes you have been buying the oil of the same price as it is produced. So what is happening in between those? And sometimes you feel some essential oil smells extraordinarily attractive. It's like a perfume. What is happening there? It's all the example of, motivation of adulteration. So from my experience, I have seen majorly those types of commercial essential oils, aroma-enhanced essential oil, addition of synthetic fragrances makes essential oil like perfume quality, and sometimes mislabeling of essential oil, like lavendin is labeled as lavender, orange is labeled as grapefruit, and reconstructed essential oil, completely reconstructed from the scratch. Essential oil can be synthesized majorly by two ways, chemical synthesis and biosynthesis. For chemical synthesis, can be done from two sources, natural precursor molecule and synthetic or fossil fuel derived molecules. And biosynthesis is done from fungi. This technology is, growing on. Like this is also called genetic engineering. implant the right gene and then produce the desired molecule, like patchouli alcohol, santalol, nucatone has been synthesized biologically and diluted or cut with heavier components or carrier oils, like addition of cooking oil or addition of heavier components in the essential oil increase the volume of the oil. But I have been analyzing essential oil since more than 10 years, and I have seen more than 80% of commercial essential oils are adulterated by some ways. And I have seen several countries sample more than 50 different companies' essential oil, and all of them had some kind of problems. And adulteration is pretty rampant, not only in one country, it's all over the world. And why is adulteration rampant? Price, the demand of price. If you are looking for cheaper priced oil, there is chance you can get adulterated oil. And if you are looking for very high attractive aromatic oil, then there is chance you could get manipulated oil. And lack of government regulation and lack of detection techniques. An essential oil is natural product, so their chemistry keeps varying on, and to pass some certain standard like ISO, AFNOR, people has to add component externally. And after all, those all things are motivated by economy or making more money. So what is the impact of adulteration? Of course, you are buying things on the cheaper price, or it may be smelling better, but it could be toxic also. So you are selling synthetic oil and other people sell pure, natural, pure essential oil, and the price difference is very high, and there is unhealthy competition between natural and synthetic essential oil. And most of the essential oils are produced from one community, one farmer, especially from developing countries. And if there is a big gap between synthetic and natural, people would like to buy synthetic one, and natural pure essential oil price goes down. And the competition will impact not only farmers' economy, it will impact their community, and eventually it can impact country's economy also. And it definitely lowers therapeutic values, So what does it do with health, And you are using essential oil from some particular purpose, and it is giving different benefit or, unexpected benefit or unexpected, health impact. Like with the lavender is used for some purpose, and if you use lavandin, which has very high camphor, and it has different medicinal uses. Like with the D-limonene, one of the most, limonene can be D and L types, and D-limonene is majorly found in orange oil or citrus oil. L-limonene is found in fir needle oil. So using D-limonene, adding D-limonene on the L-limonene will change the biological properties of the essential oil. Like for example, one for medical drug, thalidomide, now it is banned. For a chiral molecule like thalidomide, if you use one isomer, it could be good. If you use another isomer, it could be bad. And if you look over this molecule online, you'll see so many information on having, two isomer can be lethal also. So presence of synthetic marker on any essential oil can be toxic also, which has not been studied that much. So types of adulteration of essential oil, majorly based upon analytic techniques. Adulteration can be classified into 5 different degrees. So the most easiest one is carrier oils, like addition of cooking oil, castor oil, nut oils, to extend the volume of the oil. And being heavier, non-volatile component, they do not appear in GCMS. And they are like kind of odorless, so they don't impact on the final odor. And there are several oils in market which has been adulterated in this way. And this is kind of unsophisticated adulteration, but this is done normally on farm level or very unsophisticated supplier. So this, if you use GCMS in proper way, you could identify carrier oils. You don't need to have very advanced knowledge on essential oil. And second degree, I say petrochemical synthetics. The molecules derived from the fossil fuel or petrochemical precursor is called petrochemical synthetics. Like for example, by using 6-methyl-5-heptene-2-on, you can synthesize linalool. And by using benzaldehyde, you can synthesize cinnamaldehyde. Benzaldehyde is derived from petrochemical precursor. And if you convert into cinnamaldehyde, molecule is the same trans cinnamaldehyde that you can find on cinnamon bark oil. But when you convert fossil fuel into another molecule, it won't pass C14 test, because by the time period, C14 gets decayed down on synthetic products. And by using C14 test, we can easily identify petrochemical synthetics. So people have been so much smart, and they started synthesizing molecule from natural sources, and they pass C14 test. And this is considered like a third degree of adulteration, because it passes C14 test, it passes smell test, and they are normally of the same chirality. So detecting these types of natural synthetic is also kind of challenging. And fractionally isolated components is kind of fourth degree. It's a little bit more advanced type of adulteration. And like for 1,8-cineol extracted from eucalyptus oil, if it is added on rosemary oil or any 1,8-cineol like a cardamom oil, it is kind of undetectable. So it needs, to identify that type of adulteration, you need to have very advanced knowledge on adulteration. Like some people add similar oil, like for eucalyptus globulus is added on the eucalyptus radiata. They look similar by the chemistry, and mentha arvensis on the peppermint oil, mentha pipette, which is more expensive. So this is kind of highest degree of complexity. And what are the techniques used for adulteration detection? People normally use physical constant for quality control, like optical rotation, refractive index, specific gravity, colorimeter, and we have very automated physical constant measuring instrument which is called autoflex. And this is physical constant measurement is very popular, but it has its own limitation, and its ranges are wide. Any oils ranges can most of the oils ranges are matching with each other. So by falling even on that ranges, it is not necessary your oil could be pure or not. So you don't get very specific answer for adulteration on these types of instrument. But it is also it is also useful. So there are some modern spectroscopic techniques for adulteration detection, like ordinary GCMS. Everybody knows about that. You run the oil and you will see several components from the GCMS run, and this has so many limitations. I will talk later on, or we could utilize it properly. And the most advanced equipments are SNF NMR, site-specific natural isotope fractionation NMR, or it's also called deuterium NMR. It is one of the most expensive instrument out of what I'm showing here, and based upon the deuterium content, it shows origin of the oil, and it is normally used for pure and small molecules. And another one is gas chromatography, isotopic ratio mass spectrometry, or it's called C14 test. And it only detects if compound is derived from fossil fuel or not. And if compound is radio labeled then it won't be able to detect, or on the certain limit, like, if you are adding synthetic fragrance in 0.01%, it won't be able to detect that type of adulteration. And the another one is enhanced selective gas chromatography or chirality test. It's like a ordinary GCMS, only the column is chiral. So if your essential oil molecule does not have chiral molecule, it won't be able to test the oil. And how does it work? Based upon the chiral ratio of D and L. D and L are like, enantiomer. They are mirror image of each other, but they are not superimposable molecules. They are same, but they don't superimpose. And based upon their ratio, we predict, we authenticate essential oil. So some molecules do not have chiral center, and those molecules which only have chiral center will show D and L enantiomer. And sometimes enantiomeric ratio in very few cases depends upon the origin of essential oil also. So this, out of all technique like sniff NMR needs pure molecules, GCIRMS needs only synthetically derived molecules, enhanced selective gas chromatography only works with chiral molecules. So in all instances, those all instruments are failing. But of course, they are useful. It's not like all are garbage. So in the last slides, we talked about several degrees of essential adulteration, like a degree 3, 4, 5 are more complicated to detect. And there are limitations with all instrumental techniques. And to overcome those types of limitations, people are using naturally derived chemical or aroma chemicals, or they get the isolated aroma chemicals, or they convert aroma chemicals into another molecules. So let's talk about how the aroma chemicals are produced commercially. Like paper mill has a waste product called turpentine sulfate. On fractional distillation of turpentine sulfate, you can get high quantities of alpha-pinene, one of the component of frankincense essential oil. Likewise, limonene from orange oil, and geraniol from palmarosa, citral from lemongrass are also isolated from those oils, or those molecules are converted into another natural molecules. And this is very famous. I'm going to repeat the same thing because they can pass isotope testing, they can pass chirality testing, they can pass physical constant, and they can pass, if it is properly added, they can pass ISO, AFNOR, and even organoleptics. And then, still there is confusion, what technique is going to be helpful. All right, GCMS only gives like a plain things, you don't see so many things, but still the traditional GCMS is more useful. And it fails, because you can see so many components on GCMS. But it fails, those oils, those types of adulteration will fail by marker-based essential oil analysis. And today I'm going to talk majorly on marker-based essential oil analysis. So what are markers? And how many types of markers are there? Markers are those unusual molecules, and which is native to the oil only. And markers are majorly classified into biomarker, synthetic marker, or pesticide residue marker. Biomarkers are the components which is only present on some certain oils. And if you stress the oils, the quantities of that component goes reduced. Or if you add something on the oil, that component comes up. Like for example, if you add corn mint oil on peppermint, you will see high isopolygol, low baridofluorol in the peppermint oil. Means low baridofluorol means that is the biomarker of peppermint oil. And isopolygol, high isopolygol more than 0.1% means that is the biomarker of corn mint addition on peppermint oil. Synthetic marker are produced, byproduct of synthetic process. pesticide residue. This is like a new marker, but it is useful on authenticating origin of essential oil. Like somebody says, okay, this oil is produced in this area, but they are lying. But if you look over, pesticide abundancy on that area, you could say, oh, this oil is not produced on that area. Because the same type of pesticide is used on the same region. And let's go on detail on the biomarker. Like I already told, this is like a very specific molecule which you don't find in another oil. Like I already told about peppermint oil. If you add corn mint, you'll see high isopolygol. And if your peppermint oil is diluted with synthetic compounds, your boridofluorol saponin hydrates or micron D level goes lower. Like a lavender oil, if you don't see, lavendulyl acetate, krypton in the good quantities based upon the specific cultivar, then that lavender could be adulterated. Like lavendin has alpha-bisabolol, which you don't find in the lavender. If you add lavendin on lavender, you will see alpha-bisabolol, high quantities of camphor, borneol, and 1,8-cineol. Likewise, sweet fennel, phoenicol A and B are, if you see phoenicol A and B on sweet fennel oil, that means anise oil had been added. In coumarin is component of cassia essential oil. Cassia is cheaper than cinnamon bark. If cassia is added on cinnamon bark, you will see coumarin components, which indicates adulteration of the similar oil. Like in the grapefruit, if you see delta-3 carine, means orange might have been added on the grapefruit oil. Even if you see low no cation level or absence of no cation, means that may not be grapefruit oil. So those are the biomarkers that can also tell adulteration. Synthetic markers are byproducts of synthetic reaction. Sometimes synthetic reaction does not go in the desired way and they do some extra reaction that produces unwanted molecule and which is also not naturally available. And those are called synthetic marker. And how synthetic marker is produced, origin of synthetic marker, they could be done from some synthetic steps. Plants do not produce synthetic marker like a chemical synthetic marker because plants have specific types of enzymes. They are more predictable over chemical synthesis. And they are much more specific, so that's why you don't see synthetic markers on plant-based or natural essential oil. But in the chemical synthesis, some reaction happens more or some chemical intermediate species are unstable and they give different molecules. So let's talk about little bit details on how markers are produced on chemical synthesis. And here is cinnamon bark or cassia has higher quantities of trans-cinnamaldehyde, which can be produced from benzaldehyde molecule, and it is derived from fossil fuel. So if benzaldehyde reacts with acetaldehyde, it produces cinnamaldehyde molecule. Not only it produces cinnamaldehyde, it also produces phenylpentadienyl, which is not naturally available molecule. So phenylpentadienyl is synthetic marker of cinnamaldehyde. And it is derived from petrochemical precursor, so it fails C14 test. And likewise, one of the most popular components, methyl salicylate, which is found abundantly in birch bark essential oil or wintergreen essential oil, has the same molecule can be synthesized from phenol. And during the production of phenol to methyl salicylate, it also produces dimethyl 2-hydroxytarphthalate as the synthetic marker of methyl salicylate. And this is derived from synthetic precursor phenol, so it fails C14 test. If it was derived from natural precursor, it could pass C14 test. So here C14 works. Another example is thymol. When thymol is produced from metacresol, sometimes you can see leftover metacresol, or you can see 4-secondary butylphenol or 4-isopropyl. Those are synthetic marker of thymol oil, and thymol is abundantly found in oregano, thyme, savory oil. Likewise, carbapenem can be synthesized from limonene. Limonene is a natural precursor. So if carbapenem is synthesized from natural precursor, it passes C14 test. And if limonene is, if carbon is made from limonene, it is called stereospecific synthesis, and you will get what isomer you desire for, like a D or a L. You can control it produced, and it will pass chirality test also. So, and by looking over those two markers, you can predict, synthetic carbon has been added on oil or not. But if you try to use other technique, they will pass these types of synthetic molecule. And carbon is majorly found on spearmint, dill seed oil, and carbapenem, oregano, summer savory. Those oil contains carbapenem, and they are one of the abundant molecule on essential oil. Likewise, we can convert alpha-pinene into linalool, and during that process, prenols are produced. They are synthetic marker of linalool, but this is derived through natural path. So they pass C14 test, they pass chirality test, and in these conditions, none of the previously described techniques are going to work. Only only marker-based techniques is going to work on these types of synthetic. And if linalool acetate is derived from these types of linalool, it will produce plenyl acetate as synthetic marker of linalool acetate. You can see linalool in so many oils, more in the whole, lavender, lavendine, several other clarices, and those are, and even basil oil. So marker is the only way to detect adulteration. And do chemical producer wants to remove the marker? Yes, they try to remove the marker when they produce chemical in the large quantity. But they are unable to remove that marker because of chemical properties of marker and target molecule. Because they have similar boiling points. Normally people purify molecule by fractional distillation, but if you have same retention properties and similar boiling points, none of the purification techniques works, so marker remains there. And like for chemical reaction happens in several steps, and some intermediate species formed, and intermediate species are unstable, so it forms another molecule. And in organic chemistry, there is all the time possibility. It's not like 100% it's going to give this molecule. There is all the time some possibility to forming some trace molecule. That's why marker is kind of unavoidable. But people are trying, and some are successful. But if you use very sensitive instrument like a GCMS triple quad or some other, you will be able to see synthetic markers. Okay, some oils smells great when you smell that, and some companies' oil smells better than some companies' oils. And not necessarily those oils are smelling because those are high quality. Those could be adulterated also. And your GCMS is, your all tests are passing the oil. Why? Because some synthetic fragrances, even in parts per billion or parts per trillion, they smell very strong. So that changes your oil's quality. So like ethyl vanillin, aldehydes on citrus, mercaptan, sandalwood, changes oil's aromatic properties completely high quality. Like you feel, oh, I'm smelling like a perfume, and people like perfume quality. And GCMS, ordinary GCMS techniques are unable to detect these types of trace adulterant, and they are not done for volume-based profit. They are just done for quality manipulation. So that's why we normally analyze 1,000 components on each run, and you need to have very advanced mass spectrometry technique like a GC, MSMS. They are more sensitive than ordinary GCMS. Only that way you could find these types of adulterant. Being said, so many techniques, there are room for adulteration. Like when you don't know the production condition, how the oil is produced, And if you add compounds, oils like in the lower quantities, around 7% or less, sometimes none of the technique is going to work. And some components, there are few components which are markerless, and exact enantiomer or DORL pair is available, so your title is not going to work. Similar oils, all components matching from cheaper oil to expensive oil is very hard to detect. And people try to, natural variation happens in oils, and those adulterator wants to, show that balance in oil, and you cannot predict oil is adulterated or not. So still, there are lots of challenges in essential oil authentication. And there is one new technique has been evolving on, that's a biotechnology-based authentication. It is more useful on absolute, concrete, not in the oil. By looking over DNA present in the extract or the plant is authenticated. For this purpose, from the sample, DNA is extracted and DNA is amplified by PCR techniques, and they are sequenced and they are compared with the library of DNA or gene bank, and they are authenticated. So this is evolving techniques, and I hope this will get more attention in the coming days. And thanks for listening me. And if you have any questions, email me or visit our website or our Facebook page. Thanks.